Hi, I'm Megan Line, and Ebola has been definitely an influencing factor on the news and the economy this year in 2014. One of the most confusing issues that has come up with Ebola has been the government quarantine. Questions like, what is the quarantine? How is it effective? Why is it enforced? Who makes it up? What about those nurses that broke the quarantine? Questions like these come to mind when we think about it. And it's easy to trust the first news source we see, but all the news sources say different things. So how do we know which part's true, which part's false, which bias to trust? Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to break the bias, so let's look into it. Let's start with the first question. What exactly is the quarantine policy? Well, you see, after lots of research done, I've found that the quarantine policies differ. See, the federal government has the authority to restrict individuals coming into the U.S. that are sick, but most of the authority goes to the states themselves to protect and regulate public health. So sometimes it says that the Constitution, like I just said, gives federal power to the government, but most of it runs into the state. So that includes the ability to enforce quarantines. So the first video we're going to look at discusses New York and New Jersey's quarantine policy. Okay, so looking at this video at first, it may not seem like there's bias. It's kind of hard to tell, but it is in fact biased. It sways in one direction towards Ebola quarantine policies. So the whole video as a whole speaks about the New York and New Jersey quarantine policies, and that's fine. It shows video clips of the New York and New Jersey governors speaking on their positions and their decision about what quarantine policy they're enforcing, and that's great. However, the video clips are cut short while they're talking. So it doesn't show their whole perspective, or it doesn't really specify the reasons of why they're enforcing such policies and their opinion on the matter, or any facts backed up against that. So that's one of the things. The rest of the video is kind of filled with sides favoring little or no quarantine. So it includes scientists saying that, this isn't necessary. It has nurses who have been in quarantine, who have been treated disrespectfully, talking. It also has video clips of the president saying, the real source is, the real point of Ebola is getting to its source. So it doesn't really give enough information or sufficient information to provide an accurate, unbiased source. So the next video that we'll look at is from a commonly trusted news source, CNN, and it's titled, Obama Okay with Different Quarantine Policies for Military Healthcare Workers. First, let's look into the bias. So despite the news title, Obama only appears in the video for about 2 seconds, and it's cut short and sweet. But the rest of it is pretty biased. The source really criticizes the differences in policies. It includes videos of military workers, and he describes his experience and why he's there, and it kind of runs a perspective on what the quarantine's actually like. And it also discusses differences in policies. So the only bad thing is it doesn't really specify the differences. So although it seems like a good news source, it's not really giving you sufficient information on the subject. It kind of goes back and forth between people's opinions on the subject and what's being federally enforced, what the decisions are going to be okay with, and ultimately they titled it Obama's Okay with This, and they really only had Obama speaking for 2 seconds. The rest of it was kind of filler to fill in and kind of show what happened to get to this point, but ultimately it lacked other perspectives from others in different quarantine policies, and it didn't specify the differences in the quarantine policies. So it wasn't. So all the news sources that we've looked at so far have been pretty subtle in their bias. But the next one we're going to take a look at it's pretty obvious. This guy takes an extreme with his bias. So after watching that pretty extreme case or news source, it's pretty easy to see that it's definitely biased, and it's not very hard to detect. But the source really blames the whole quarantine thing for Ebola on the president and claims it to be all about power and control. But he doesn't look at any other reasons for the quarantine. He overlooks them and he criticizes past situations. So he looks back at McCarthy or FDR when the Japanese were put into concentration camps. He looks into those power situations and tries to implement it on the current situation, which is Ebola. He doesn't include any information on the federal or president's power over the government quarantine. He kind of almost assumes that it's all up to him, he's in charge, he makes the decisions. He also includes a video of Obama talking, so he does get some credibility there. But it's a chosen video to kind of tie in with what he's saying. So he doesn't really get the president's full perspective or view on the quarantine policies. He just kind of chooses what he wants to put in to support. So the last video we're going to analyze is President Obama speaking on the subject. So after viewing that video, it's kind of harder to see some of the bias, especially compared to the last video we looked at. But there is some still there. See, the president only includes the clean details. He doesn't include the dirty details, like the messy parts. He just kind of says what people want to hear. And yeah, you can tell that he's in favor of whatever is going on, their situation. He believes that the decisions that are being made are the best. He doesn't really criticize them. And he says, he says, CDC's backing this up, we're going to make the conditions better, it's going to be easy. But based on other news sources, it hasn't really been that easy. And yeah, this news source may have been before some of the policies, but they were still inactive when he made this. And frankly, based on my research, the transition back from an Ebola-infected country into the U.S. hasn't been that smooth. Quarantine hasn't been working very well. After watching this video, I hope you're better informed on Ebola, government quarantine, and the whole topic of Ebola, really. And this really relates to economics. Ebola isn't just about the disease or its effect on people, it's also about its effect on the economy. The government, for instance, it's like quarantine, will spend money to ensure that the policies, the equipment, everything needed to stop this disease is available. So it kind of goes in with government spending, donations being spent towards the Ebola research facilities, and that really ties in with what our next video will be about.